This is the story of a mercenary and about his involvement in, among other things, an assassination plot. When the fighting in Angola was at its height, we all began hearing again about mercenaries, soldiers of fortune, those international guns for hire who always seem to show up anywhere there is combat. The men novelist Frederick Forsyth has called the dogs of war. 60 Minutes set out to find an experienced mercenary, to interview him in an effort to discover who such people are and why, what motivates them. That led us to this man, John Dane. Dane is a 34-year-old native Briton who got into the U.S. on a tourist visa in 1967. He volunteered for the Army and served in Vietnam with a unit specializing in sabotage, kidnapping, and assassination. For that, he was awarded 12 medals, including a Bronze Star, and earned a U.S. citizenship. But he no longer lives in this country. Mazatlan, on the west coast of Mexico, a kind of Mexican Riviera, is the place where he chose to be interviewed. Dane has had several identities and changes passports like most people change clothes. But we established, to our own satisfaction at least, that he is what he says he is, a card-carrying member of the international mercenary community. Let us suppose for the moment that I'm a 17 or 18-year-old young woman in Rhodesia. In the simplest terms, teach me to use this weapon.
Okay.
He began smuggling guns into Spain about 10 years ago, fought in the Congo, worked with the anti-monarchist underground in Morocco, and traveled widely with guns and explosives through other trouble spots in Africa, the Middle East, Central and South America. What are your specialties?
Weapons, explosives, intelligence.
Explosives? What can you do with those?
Well, if you build a bridge, I can bring it down in shorter time than you ever took to build it. Move a mountain for you if you want it.
Kidnapping, assassination?
That usually goes along with an underground organization, yes.
Are you qualified to do that?
I have done it.
Competent?
I've done it. Got away with it. Still alive.
Was any of this killing, this assassination done at close range with handguns?
Yes, it was.
Did you do any of that?
Yes.
Did the other person have what we would call a fighting chance?
Not if I gave it. Not if I could help it.
Did you enjoy that?
That's a difficult question. Perhaps I could say I enjoyed the planning, the setting things up, the getting close. The actual end result is an anticlimax. There's nothing there to brag about. It would have been better if there was some other way of doing it, you know, to have instantaneous resurrection. I would probably feel better, put it that way. But there's no such thing. It's a rather terminal operation.
You've said that you don't particularly like to kill, that you would prefer that it not have to be done, but that if it must be done, that you feel you're the person to do it.
I'd prefer it be me than somebody else. At least if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do the job right, and I'm not going to mess about. Now, some people are so sadistic, they'll drag this thing out for ages and ages and torture the poor bugger. There's no sense in that kind of thing. If you're going to go in and this thing has got to be done, then do the bloody thing and get out, you know, forget about it, you know. But rather than have somebody go and butcher the situation, that's not me.
A hole through it, and a hole through it. Not bad shooting.
Not considering it's the first time I fired this one particular weapon.
You picked up this weapon for the first time no more than 3 minutes ago.
That's right.
Mr. Dane's competence as an assassin goes beyond his skill as a marksman. It is based on real experience in this work. The part he would admit to was accumulated while he was in Vietnam.
These things are the size of a head, and we were talking about headshots.
So you would consider that 3 headshots right on the button?
Oh, yes. If they're wearing any kind of flak vest or bulletproof vest, at least there's no way they can save themselves from this. As I say, a very clean, quick dispatch.
For whom will you work? For whom will you not work?
I work only militarily or politically, against military targets or political targets. If it's, if you want your wife knocked off, your grandmother in an accident, or your mother-in-law to be deceased suddenly, you can go down to Los Angeles and get those all you want. That's not my style.
I want to play for you a piece of a tape recording, which I don't fully understand. This is a tape recording of a conversation between you and someone else. Let me play it for you first and see if you recall this.
But they would love it. The state of Israel would love to see this man die. Every Jew would love to see this man die. This man is another Adolf Hitler for the Jewish people.
Then it would be a great saving then. I mean, there would be a great deal of money saved in effort if this man died.
Now, Do you remember that situation?
Yes, indeed, I do.
What was happening in that room when that recording was made?
I was being contacted to find out whether or not I would be amenable to fulfilling a contract, I think is the term.
Killing someone.
Killing someone.
An assassination.
An assassination.
You were contacted in the United States?
In the United States, yes.
Who was the man doing the talking?
It's a man who said he represented a certain Jewish group.
What was that Jewish group?
The Jewish Defense League.
So-called JDL?
So-called JDL.
In order to save a Jewish life, the question is, how far will you go?
Irv Rubin is the West Coast coordinator of the Jewish Defense League. It should be pointed out that major Jewish groups in the United States have gone on record deploring any illegal activities by the JDL, and so has the government of Israel. We interviewed Mr. Rubin in Los Angeles. Does that include violence?
At some times that might include violence, yes.
Murder? Kidnapping?
Our commandment says, thou shalt not murder. There's a tremendous difference between murdering and killing. Our Torah, our Bible says when one comes to slay you, you rise up early in the morning and slay him first.
Did you satisfy yourself that he was indeed a representative of the JDL?
Yes, I did.
And what was he proposing?
He was proposing to have me, in exchange for a substantial sum of money, to go to the Middle East and to kill Yasser Arafat.
Yasser Arafat, head of the Palestine Liberation Organization?
The same.
Let me play you a tape recording, something. And I want to know where this happened and what was being said, what was going down, to use the vernacular of the street.
But they would love it. The state of Israel would love to see this man die. Every Jew would love to see this man die. This man is another Adolf Hitler to the Jewish people.
Then it would be a great saving then. I mean, there would be a great deal of money saved in effort if this man was put out of sight. And what I'm asking for is a very great deal of money.
No, not when you're considering, not when you consider the target you're going after, which I believe that might have been a news conference pertaining to Artukovic. I believe, I'm not certain, there's been many news conferences.
No, I think this is a tape recording. I know this is a tape recording made with a man named John Dane. Do you know Mr. Dane?
I've heard of him.
That was your voice on that tape recording, was it not?
I would refuse to comment.
Well, I know that that was your voice.
Yeah, okay.
You were talking with Mr. John Dane. You were talking about an assassination attempt on Arafat.
We were fantasizing.
Did he come to you, you go to him?
He came to me.
Tell me in brief what his proposition was.
Just as I've outlined. In exchange for a sum of money, I was to go to the Middle East and assassinate him.
Did he care how you assassinated him?
No, he did not.
Can you give me a rough idea of how much money he was offering?
$250,000 American.
All of it out front?
No, half in advance, half at the back.
$250,000 for Yasser Arafat's life?
There's no way that we could come up with $250,000. Any person of a normal rationality
That's not what you told
see.
Mr. Dane.
Could see that we couldn't come up with $250,000.
You told him you could come up with $250,000.
No, I would beg to differ with you. There's no possible way.
Did you seriously consider it as a business proposition?
Yes, I did.
Why?
There's nothing wrong in it.
But do
He's
you
a
know
military
Yasser Arafat?
He's a military target.
Do you personally have anything against him?
No, not personally.
So you listened seriously to this proposition?
Yes, I did.
How did you leave it with this man that you say was from the Jewish Defense League?
He was to contact me at a later date to tell me when the funds were to be forwarded and where they were to be deposited, and then I would act from there.
Anybody of their right mind would know that it's impossible to come up with $250,000.
Mr. Rubin, in this conversation...
I said to John Dane, to be perfectly honest with you, you would have to go and contact people in New York. There's no way that we could come up with $250,000. As a matter of fact, if you played the tape in its entirety, there is no possible way. There's absolutely no possible way.
I have the tape in its entirety. First of all, did you know that that conversation was being tape recorded?
No, I did not know.
Who made the original tape recording?
I did.
Why?
For, again, my own protection. There's no sense in just taking too many chances. There's too many ponderables about the situation. I wasn't going to be caught napping on this one.
At that time, you believed he could do it?
I didn't believe anything. I couldn't believe that anybody could kill Yasser Arafat. The proof would be in the pudding.
You hoped he could do it.
Pardon me?
You hoped that he could do it.
Well, yes, I did hope that he could do it, but I didn't think he could do it.
Well, of course, it would all have to be based upon the latest intelligence synopsis of the area. I'd have to get a lot of information upon his movements, his bases, his likely places of, that he would be at. And, of course, I would have to then calculate the number of men required. I'd have to visit the area just to have a check out of the situation, see if there were any other vibrations or anything I could pick up and use. And then, of course, the most important thing is a way of getting in, but more important, getting out.
It's the sort of thing that could touch off another war in the Middle East.
Yes, if it was handled botchily, yes, it would. So it had to be done very, very carefully. There's all kinds of ways. For instance, if he has a known building that he goes to, not necessarily regularly, but at certain intervals anyway, that you can count he's going to go there sometime within a month, say. There's nothing to stop you from going in there, of course, covertly, planting your goodies around the place that would take care of the entire building rather than just one specific spot.
What kind of goodies would you use for this sort of job?
Anything I could get my hands on.
Such as?
Whether it be dynamite, nitro, plastic explosive, whatever.
All right, that would be one way.
Yes. Then just wait for him to come in before pushing the button.
This would be command-detonated explosives?
Command detonation, yes.
Did you assure him that it could be done?
Oh, yes.
If he came up with the money?
Absolutely. He was also made to understand that there'd be a lot of people that would be most upset should dear Mr. Arafat be suddenly demised, and that the large sum of money would be required in order to hide from all of his friends and admirers and sponsors, mainly his sponsors.
How many times did you talk to John Dane total?
Might have been twice.
Well, we know you talked to him more than twice. You talked to him at the restaurant, the Hollywood restaurant. Right?
No comment.
You talked to him in the secret meeting at a private home just outside Los Angeles, right?
No comment.
Then you talked to him by telephone a number of times.
No comment.
You talked to him about Claymore mines?
No comment.
Plastique?
No comment.
M16 style rifles?
No comment.
Explosives?
No comment.
Automatic weapons?
No comment.
Hand grenades?
No comment.
What in the world could you have been imagining, even fantasizing to use your word, that you would be doing with Claymore mines, plastique, hand grenades, M16 rifles in the United States of America?
I just couldn't comment.
That's a serious matter.
It's deadly serious.
Deadly serious. If John Dane had asked you to go along on the plan...
I would never go with John Dane anywhere.
Well, John Dane or anyone else, if they'd asked you to go
John
along...
Dane did not impress me with his professionalism.
...to blow up Yasser Arafat, you'd go, wouldn't you?
No. No, I would not go. Because, again, I did not know where John Dane was coming from.
Did you get any money from the JDL at all?
No.
They didn't give you a dime?
Nope.
How soon were they supposed to get back to you?
Oh, within a matter of weeks.
Isn't it a crime to engage in a conspiracy to commit murder in the United States?
If that person is a resident of the United States, if that person is an alien in the United States, and it was to take place in the United States, yes. Then that becomes conspiracy to commit murder.
Well, it was a conspiracy to commit murder anyway.
Not in the United States.
You mean not under United States law?
Right. The man was not a resident of the United States. It would not take place in the United States. Therefore, it is not a crime.
So you were never charged with this?
Of course not. What are they going to charge me with? Conspiracy to do something which isn't even on the books? Ha.
Mr. Dane is correct. Incredible as it may seem, in the case described, neither he nor those with whom he met committed any crime under current U.S. laws. A new bill has been introduced in Congress that would change that, but has not yet passed either House, nor have any hearings been set for it. Dane's negotiations for money to kill Yasser Arafat were broken up by, among other things, his arrest on a charge of running guns to Mexico. He was convicted, served 5 months in federal prison in Arizona, then left the United States. He now lives in Rhodesia, where he told us he is teaching the ways of war to white farmers.